Welcome to LinkedUp, Breaking Boundaries in Education, a podcast that focuses on what is happening in education today, connecting everyone to the movers and shakers that are breaking boundaries in the education arena.
Well, hello and welcome. Jerri and I had the great opportunity to go to South by Southwest EDU. And boy, did we get to meet the best people. It was such a great learning experience from the sessions and great networking opportunities by meeting all of the people there. And we were in a really nice cocktail party, and one of the people who we met just sat down. She was so sweet, and just so happened that she had a documentary about her being done and being showcased at the event. So we said, why don't you come on our podcast with us? That was a great find there, wasn't it, Jerri?
Oh, it was fantastic. So we're sitting there and she's just so humble about everything. Yes. and we're just talking, and I think we were just fast friends, just chatting it up, having a great time. And she hands me this sticker and she said, "This is kind of my business card." And then on the back had all of her information. And I thought, that's genius. Yeah. So what is this screening in Ballroom A? And she said, "Oh, well, they made a documentary about me." Like, oh my gosh, you're kidding me. They made a documentary about you. So Chelsea Bennett, welcome to the podcast. Welcome. Because we want to hear all about this documentary. And we want to hear all about you as well. So welcome. We are so happy to have you here.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It was beautiful meeting you all at South by Southwest, for sure.
Oh, it was so much fun. Well, let's start off with, what do you do, Chelsea?
Well, I am a special education teacher in Chicago. I have the joy of working with kindergarten through third grade this year. And I love my little bunch. But the reason that I ended up being the star of a documentary is because I've been mentoring. So I've also served as a mentor teacher to pre-service teachers that are coming into the field of education and learning how to kind of getting their reins ready for teaching in their own classroom.
That's great. And I think that we're finding out that new teachers really do need mentors to help them, to shepherd them through, because there is so much going on. You can take as many classes as you want, read as many books, but until you get there, it's a whole different world
along the way. Yeah. So mentoring is so important.
Wonderful. So was the mentoring put in place to attract more teachers or to retain them, or have you always had it?
So initially, there is a program in Chicago that's called the Chicago Teachers Residency. And that is a program that I got hooked into. I served as a core member for City Year for a year. And I went into an elementary school and I was tutoring students that were a grade level behind. And while I was there, the principal at the school that I was serving in was like, "You would be a great teacher." And she put me in touch with this mentoring program. And she was like, "Hey, like, you should go. It's a year-long program. You can get your master's and you can also be mentored to become a teacher." And so that's what I did. I signed up. I got my master's in a year, special education from DePaul. And I then, after that year, joined my own classroom. I joined as a teacher and I had my own classroom. And like you were saying, there is nothing that can really prepare you for being a teacher until you get into the classroom. And that was the beauty of being able to do this program, because I spent an entire year in a classroom learning all of the teacher moves, all of the styles of teaching, the ins and outs that you don't necessarily learn in a traditional program.
So you were in the classroom the entire time you were working on this master's degree?
Yes. So I was in the classroom. Yes, I was taking notes from mentors, watching my mentor teach, and even teaching myself Monday through Thursday. And then on Fridays, I was going to classes to get my master's. And then by the end of the year, I was graduating with my master's in special education.
That's a great program.
Oh, yes. And so since I ended up going through the program myself, I then got the opportunity to turn around and be a mentor to another teacher that was going through the program herself. And they just kind of wanted to highlight the journey that it took from me being a resident turned mentor and mentoring a resident that's going into the classroom herself.
That's fantastic.
Well, you shared your website with us, and it tells a story about the documentary. And I see lots of amazing pictures in here, and you all have masks on. So I assume the pandemic was still going on while they were making the documentary.
Oh, yes, it was rampant.
I bet. Oh my goodness. But then in the middle, I see Arnie Duncan. Is he connected? Our former Secretary of Education. Is he connected at all with this documentary?
So yes, he is. He has a few speaking points in them throughout the documentary. And so he just talks about what it's like to be in Chicago and teaching, and the honest teacher shortage that's happening right now, and how hard it is to kind of keep teachers in the profession while also dealing with while we were doing the film, dealing with the pandemic and things like that.
Sure. So if you think about the documentary, did they follow you around in your classroom? And was it just you, or is it many teachers?
So yes, they did come into our classroom. It started off as just what was supposed to be a 10-minute video. It was supposed to be a promotional video for the residency program. And they came in with their cameras and they highlighted the story of me mentoring. Her name is Kanga. She was my resident last year. And they came in ready to just highlight the journey that it took for me becoming a mentor, and then also her being a resident and learning the ropes. And when they premiered it at the benefit dinner, everyone loved it. And so Adam, who is the producer, he was like, I love this story and I want to tell your story. And so he decided that it didn't need to just be a 10-minute video. He wanted to make it into a full-blown documentary.
Wow, that is because I was wondering how it got started or the reason behind it. That makes sense, a promotional video for the program. But then he saw a lot in that and said, let's go a little deeper. So how does that happen? What sorts of things do you need to prepare for when you have a documentary about you, right? So it started out as the promotional, but now it's going a little deeper. Is it certain days of the week, certain hours of the day? How does it impact your students? How does the logistics come into play? I'm really curious.
The funny thing, it's funny that you ask, because when they first came in, I had to give my students a little bit of a heads up, because of course I work with kindergarten through third grade students. They're very young and everything just excites them. So before they came in on the first day, when they were originally filming, I sat them down and I had a pep talk with them. And I was like, hey, there are going to be cameras that are coming in. They're just seeing how we do things in the classroom. Don't be alarmed. You don't need to pay attention to them. They're flies in the background. And I was like, hey, we're going to still do everything that we would normally do in class. They're just going to be watching us. And as soon as they came in, all of the students were like, okay, we got it. We're going to be on our best behavior. And the moment they turned the cameras on, I literally had kids sitting on their heads. And I was like, so this is not what we do. And so it was there was a lot of excitement. I think the first few days that they were filming couldn't necessarily use all of that footage because the kids were just turning around and like waving at the camera and things like that. But we honestly became a family by the end of the year. Like the kids knew Adam coming in, they knew Joe. And so it was like they were flies on the wall. We had work to do. We needed to get our, sight words down and stuff like that. So they weren't paying any attention to them after they first got used to them.
That's hysterical.
So how long did it take?
Yeah. So the original video, they came in and they were in my classroom for a week span. And then after Adam picked it up as the full-blown documentary, he came back in. The goal was to come in quarterly, but he ended up coming in the beginning of the year and in the winter time, and then also at the end of the year, so in the springtime. So each time that he came, it was about a week, and he followed me in the classroom. He got some footage of the school in general, interviewed me and Kanga, and then also got to talk to some of the other teachers in the school as well, and the principal.
So so there's just two people then who would come in.
Yeah.
Someone doing the video camera and then someone
Mhm.
interviewing, or did they not interview you during?
Well, so Adam he runs his production company and he's pretty much doing it on his own. He had the support of Joe, and Joe was coming in, holding the camera, making sure that sound was good and everything. And when there were parts for interviews, Adam was doing the interview and Joe was recording.
Okay, that's so interesting. And so what about your school? How did they respond? What were some of the protocols that needed to be in place for this cool documentary pushing into and we didn't say what school district you're in, did we?
No, I work for Chicago Public Schools.
Okay, well, yeah, I mean, that's like a big district.
Yeah.
So what were the protocols involved in that?
So that was part of the reason that it ended up we didn't get to come in during like the right after Thanksgiving break like we had originally planned. It's because they had to get approval from they had to get approval to be in the building past the time that they were initially in the building, but then they also had to get approval from CPS to actually do the documentary. And so that took a little bit of time before they were able to come back into the classroom and continue filming.
So what was the length of time from the beginning to when they finished wrapping up? And then you had the release of it, well, just a small little release, right?
Mm-hmm.
On at South by Southwest EDU.
Yeah, so we actually started the initial video. We started filming in, I want to say, October of 2022. And everything was wrapped up by the end of the school year, the 2022 school year. Or no, October 2021. And everything was wrapped up at the end of the 2022 school year.
Okay, so it was like a year. All right,
yeah,
great.
And that was like a wonderful turnaround, honestly. Even when we were at South by Southwest, people were like, hey, so how long did it take you? And they were expecting it to be like 3 years, 2 years. And we were like, we just filmed this earlier in the school year. And here we are now. And so that was a really big surprise when we were premiering the video at South by Southwest EDU.
It's just a soft launch. So you did that, but it's really not launching for reals until September, right?
Well, yeah. So that was the world premiere, and everyone got the little behind the scenes screening at South by Southwest EDU. There's going to be another screening then at the Nevada Women's Film Festival in June, and then it will be released to the public in the fall. Yeah.
Oh boy. Oh boy. What would you say? So after having been through all of that, what would you say would be the top 3 takeaways that people would be able to have after viewing this documentary? What do you think some of the highlights are? Proud
Um,
moments.
ooh. I think honestly, one of the biggest takeaways is just the experience of teachers. This is a very behind the scenes look into what a typical classroom is. And there is no there's no made up anything in this video. This was true real life. They came into my classroom and these are my real students. This is real lessons that I was teaching. And so I think one of the biggest takeaways is that teachers are really out here doing real things. And that's one of the messages that we speak about in the film as well. Because at some point, especially during the pandemic, teachers got a really bad rep. And we discussed that in the film as well. A lot of people were just kind of downing teachers. They didn't think that teachers were doing anything. Teachers were supposed to babysit children and they weren't actually teaching, and nobody thought that teachers wanted to go back and do their jobs because we were looking out for safety. And in the film, they catch us because we ended up taking a little bit of time out of the school building for safety measures because of COVID. Because when we were returning from winter break, it was really bad at that point in time. And so there was a work action and teachers stayed home. And at that point, a lot of people were echoing the same narrative that teachers just didn't care about students. And I think that's one of the biggest takeaways of this video is like, we do. My students were the reason for this video. They will continue to be the reason for everything that I do in education. And they really matter. And it was less about us and more about what we're doing for them. That's one huge takeaway. I think also my little babies, I love them dearly. We briefly talk about their journey through education as well. I teach kindergarten through third grade special education. And so in the film, you get to see just a little tidbit of their journey, and understanding that education looks different for different people. But at the same time, everyone deserves to have a teacher that cares about them, a teacher that loves them, and also just a school that welcomes them. So that's a good, I think, theme or takeaway that can be received as well.
Wonderful.
Well, your director had a quote that I want to share, and it said, he pursued making the documentary to provide an inside look at what it takes to be a teacher. Not just any teacher, but a teacher who teaches with attention and purpose and who meets their students where they are and loves them unconditionally. What a high compliment to you.
Yeah, honestly, the reason that I ended up getting into education in the first place was because I had done a lot of work in the schools. When I was in college, undergrad, I was volunteering in schools. I was doing a lot of mentoring programs, was doing tutoring programs, and I was seeing a lot of things that were happening in the schools that I wasn't necessarily happy with. And I was, especially special education students, I was seeing them just kind of pushed off to the side and not paid attention to or not cared for, always sent out of the classroom. And I realized, I was like, this is not okay for me. And if I don't like what I'm seeing, then I need to be willing to go in and make the change. I can't complain if I'm not willing to do something about it. And so I did something about it and I became a teacher, and I am the teacher that I would want those students to have.
That's amazing, right? It really is. It really is. I mean, what great motivation. And it's a great perspective too. I mean, we can all complain all the time, but who not everyone takes the time to, point out a problem, but then be part of that solution by rolling up their sleeves and getting right in. And that's fantastic. But it also takes a really, really special heart to be a teacher. And especially when you didn't intend from the beginning, but actually, the having that motivation behind that's really special, really special.
Definitely originally planned to be an engineer in life, and then yeah. So total complete career change. So even my bachelor's is in psychology and anthropology, sociology. And then when I graduated from undergrad and I started working in the schools, that's when it was like, okay, nope, education is important, and I need to do something here first before I go anywhere else.
Well, I mean, even though you didn't intend to be a teacher, your background certainly helps.
Yes, for sure. It definitely gives me a leg up, especially working with the population that I am working with. It's definitely a tool that I have in my back pocket for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we never did get to hear, how did the premiere at South by Southwest go?
It was amazing. Honestly, it was so amazing. One, it was great to see the whole film come together and be on the big screen at a conference as big as South by Southwest, like something that I could have never imagined. But the reception of it, we probably did not leave the theater until about 45 minutes after the screening. And then even after, we were standing outside, like talking to people, because a lot of people were just so moved by the film. And a lot of people wanted to be involved in not only promoting the film, but also just kind of getting the word out there about the film and watching and screening the film. So that was pretty cool.
Well, that's great. And we want to get the word out too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 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 We missed it. And because we were double booked. So we were really disappointed about that. But it sounds like there was so much excitement and hype around it. So it must have been very exciting. Was there a red carpet for you?
There was not, unfortunately. But next screening, I'm hoping.
Yes, next screening. Absolutely.
Oh, that's terrific. How long is it?
It's about an hour long. It's an hour and 10 minutes long. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Oh, that's great.
So, and you guys have a behind the looks.
Yes, I'm going to check it out for sure. Going to check it out. Well, Chelsea.
Oh, right. See, I didn't get that link. You got to show that.
Yes. As we begin to wrap this up, and there's a question that we really like to ask our guests. Mm-hmm. And the question is, through this experience of making the documentary and serving children the way you do, what has become clear to you?
Oh, wow. There have been so many things that have become clear to me. One, like I mentioned before, the importance of just being a loving educator. I have so many students that come in that don't necessarily have everything that a lot of other students do. And so in order to kind of combat what they're facing at home, you just have to give them that extra love. And so that's one of the things that has become really, really clear to me. But another thing is just that this work matters. This work matters, and also that these stories matter. Adam has on his production page, that your stories have power. And that is one of the biggest things that I have taken away from this, is that, everybody's story has power, but especially mine has power as well. And it's something that people want to hear, and it's amazing, honestly.
Yes, and you have power. I can tell you're just doing so many good things in your classroom, and hopefully this gets out there and it changes the way people look at education, because I don't think the general public knows how difficult it is to be an educator, how many hours it takes. It's a very difficult job. And
it's very rewarding. It really is, but there is a lot of work that goes in behind the scenes that not a lot of people see.
That's right. Well, we hope that they see it from this.
We hope that this sheds the light that needs to be on the challenges, but also, as you mentioned, the rewards that come from being an educator. And I really expect that your students will be especially proud and excited for this to be released as well.
Yeah,
And
they've been
that
waiting
they're a
for
part
it.
of the story to share with everyone.
Yeah, we've had the chance to actually show the trailer in the school building. And everyone's like, I've seen you. I saw you on the TV. You're on the TV. So they're already excited about even the trailer. So I can't wait till they're able to see their faces on the big screen, honestly.
Absolutely. Now, Chelsea, are you on social media? Can people follow you?
So my social media is a little bit under construction right now. I do have a Instagram page that is devoted to my teaching career. It is Miss Bennett Teach on Instagram, but
Miss Bennett.
Miss Bennett Teach, just TECH.
Perfect.
And so I'm working on getting more, just more stuff on that page as well.
Sure. And we will share the link to the website for the teacher documentary, because people, although it's not released to the public yet, they could still see the trailer there.
They can see the trailer,
read about
and then
a little
also,
bit behind
if there
the
are
scenes.
any other screening information that's up there, they'll be able to get that too.
Yes.
Perfect. Perfect.
Well, thank you so
much for sharing.
Yes.
You go.
This has been great. And we wish you the best of luck. And, we hope that we see you on an awards show soon, winning a big award.
I'm waiting for my Abbott Elementary moment.
Oh, we are too. And Jamie and I will be your cheerleaders.
Yes, we will.
So much for having me.
Thank you for listening. And if you would like to stay linked up, be sure to follow us on Apple and Spotify, and subscribe to us on YouTube.